All right, welcome everyone to the Calabasas Planning Commission meeting of October 17, 2024. Let's see, looks like we're all here except for the chair and Dennis, who are excused. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
So next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, Mr. Weintraub, could you lead us, please? Thank you. Is there any changes to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're all in favor. Announcements. Aside from your personal announcement, Matt, do you have anything else?
Nothing.
Okay. And nothing?
Nothing.
And,
Nothing here.
oh, well, I've got a couple. One is we got an email and a call, believe it or not, regarding a red flag watch, which is not a warning for those of you who follow weather. Edison may be turning off a couple of circuits, they call it. And I don't know if you're a resident of Calabasas, you would have received a packet like this. And in it, there's a map of the Edison circuits. And unfortunately, the map here on paper isn't as good as the one online. The one online has the colors of the HOAs more faded, but on this one, it's all too bright, at least for somebody like me with ADD. So it's, so it's all jumbled. But the two places that they're talking about are Horn Toad, I didn't name these circuits, and Plateau. And Horn Toad seems to be in the
Mulwood?
closer to you. Yes.
Yeah, Mulwood.
Mulwood, or that area. Yeah. Yes. And Plateau is near Las Virgenes, but south of the freeway. So those areas may have circuits turned off. But if you're interested in what your circuit is, look online on cityofcalabasas.com. You'll see a really good map there. The other announcement, I'll try to make this short, Matt, is for the Calabasas Pumpkin Festival, which is Sunday. And that is from 10 to 5 over at Deanza Park, and I believe they're still selling tickets, so if anybody's interested, please head on over there on Sunday. And no other announcements, so let's see, oral communications. Do we have anybody who wants to address the Planning Commission on an item that's not on the agenda? Just some other item. Okay, no? Okay. So then we go to approval of minutes for October 3, 2024. Any changes or discussion?
Can you speak into the mic?
I move approval.
And I'll second that. Thank you.
Thanks. My only concern about this is that I was opposed to the original one, so even though I think this does reflect what happened, I think I still have to vote against it. But so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll be opposed again, even though it's accurate. I don't need to say the minutes are wrong. Next is adoption of, oh no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. I changed that. The minutes are correct. It's the next one that I need to vote no on.
Resolution.
Yeah, the resolution regarding that's why I pulled this off from consent. 2024-796. That's the one that I have issues with. So is there a motion to approve?
I move.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. I'm sorry. So this is the one where I have to vote against because of the findings, even though, again, I think the resolution was made in
This is
accordance.
2024736?
Yeah.
796, sorry.
2024796, approving a site plan review 2024-001. from our last meeting on,
Yes.
on October 3rd.
Yes.
I just disagreed. This is the one that has all that glass on the front that I had a problem with.
Right.
Too much glazing without separations, unlike yours. So anyway, so all those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm opposed to that one. And I hope the record reflects that I was in favor of the minutes. Next. So we've got public hearing, I believe, next, right?
Yes, sir.
And that is, I don't know who's going to handle this. This is file number CUP 2024-002, a request for a conditional use permit for a type 21 off-sale general liquor license for a new wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop called The Library, which is going to be at 23504 Calabasas Road, Suite 3 in Old Town. It also includes a request for a determination of similar use, that a wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop is similar to a wine and beer specialty shop, which is conditionally permitted, which is a conditionally permitted use in the in that zone. So, Jacqueline, it looks like you're on for this, and you can explain why we have to make some special finding.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Harrison, and good evening, Commissioners. First, I want to mention this project was noticed to all property owners within 500 feet of the subject site. The notice was also posted on the city's website and throughout the city at all required locations, and no public comments were received. And again, this is a request for a CUP for a Type 21 off-sale general liquor license for a new wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop called The Library, located at 23504 Calabasas Road, Suite 3, in the commercial Old Town Zoning District, Scenic Corridor Overlay Zone, and Old Town Master Plan area. As mentioned, the project also includes a request for a determination of similar use, that a wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop is similar to a wine and beer specialty shop, which is a conditionally permitted use in the CT zone. The property is located within the commercial Old Town Zoning District, and the center is also located within the Old Town Master Plan area and within the Scenic Corridor Overlay Zone, due to the proximity of the site to the 101 freeway, which you can see is right here behind sagebrush in this image. No scenic corridor permit was required for the scope of work because no exterior changes are proposed. Surrounding land uses include other retail tenants and restaurant tenants along Calabasas Road. To the north is Sagebrush Cantina, a restaurant. To the east is the Motion Picture Television Fund, a healthcare center. Those two are outside of the city of Calabasas' boundaries within the city of LA. The subject site, which is 23504 Calabasas Road right here, is located at the intersection of Calabasas Road and El Cannon Ave. It is part of the Kramer Store building in Old Town Calabasas, which is one of the oldest commercial buildings in Calabasas, with most of the original portion of the building still recognizable. As such, the building is eligible for listing as a local historic landmark. However, the applicant proposes interior remodel of the space only with no exterior alterations, therefore no review by the Historic Preservation Commission was required. Next, we have a photo of the site. This is taken from Calabasas Road facing south. The tenant proposes to occupy Suite 3 in this building right here, which is the ground floor space shown in the photo. So again, this is a request for a conditional use permit and a determination of similar use to allow for a new wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop called The Library, located at 23504 Calabasas Road, Suite 3, within the commercial Old Town Zoning District. And Calabasas Municipal Code Section 17.62.060 requires conditional use permit requests to be reviewed by the Planning Commission. The city's land use table does not address wine, beer, and liquor specialty shops. It only addresses wine and beer specialty shops, and this request, therefore, also includes a determination of similar use. And that determination would be that the proposed wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop is similar to a wine and beer specialty shop. Therefore, it should be considered conditionally permitted in the CT zone. And the Calabasas Municipal Code Section 17.11.010F stipulates that a wine and beer specialty shop shall be allowed in the CT zoning district via a CUP, but only where in compliance with the Old Town Master Plan. And the Old Town Master Plan encourages ground floor commercial retail on this parcel, which is parcel 3 of the master plan. And the proposed use is the retail sale of alcohol. Okay, and here we have the proposed site plan. Again, the area of work is Unit 3 within the existing building, shown in orange here. The blue rectangle right here shows the area, the original area of the Kramer store portion of the building. Some of the commission may also remember that there was a prior project at this address which was approved by the commission back in 2022, which would have combined suites 3 and 4. However, that work was never accomplished. Unit 4 is currently occupied by the other tenant, but those suites were never combined, so Unit 3 is still its own individual suite. Here we have the existing floor plan. The site is currently vacant, but the prior use was a day spa and then approved for retail, as mentioned. But this is the existing suite today, and the suite will be modified to create retail space for alcohol sales and associated storage rooms and office spaces. Next, we have the proposed floor plan. You can see on this floor plan we have feature tables. We have cabinet/bookcases that run along the sides of the walls, which will be used for the display of alcohol instead of more traditional shelving. And then we have these armchairs that are shown on the floor plan, which are for aesthetic purposes only. There's no on-site alcohol consumption proposed as part of this project.
Just want to point out, if you could show where the Kramer store outline is, please. It's just the front portion there that is the Kramer store, what people see and recognize from the street as Old Town. If you go back to the existing floor plan as well, you can see the same area. So that's not changed. That's one open area today. It's going to remain one open area in this new floor plan as well. The rest of that is all additions to that building from various times.
And then in the back of the proposed floor plan, you can see a bathroom, cooler storage area, a break room, a office, and a consultation or conference room in the back here. And then on this slide, you can see the proposed interior views of the space. In this image, you can see those armchairs and the kind of bookcase library shelving that was shown on the floor plan. And here's another view that shows similar thing. You can see the feature tables, the bookshelves that will be used for the display of alcohol, and the armchairs. Again, no on-site consumption is proposed. These are decorative. So moving on to alcohol sales, the applicant has applied for a Type 21 off-sale general liquor license from ABC, which is issued to retail stores and authorizes the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption off the premises where sold. The proposed hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday to accommodate for the farmers market, the earlier hours on Saturday, and then 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sunday. The proposed store will have 2 to 4 employees, one of which is a certified sommelier. A wine, beer, and liquor specialty shop is not a land use identified in the municipal code. However, a wine and beer specialty shop is an allowed use in the CT zoning district, subject to ACUP. And I do also want to mention that the sheriff provided written confirmation that they have no objections to the proposed alcohol sales request. So moving on to the determination of similar use. So when a land use is not listed within the land use table, the municipal code allows the review authority to make a determination of similar use, which is a determination that the proposed use is similar to one or more other permitted/listed land uses. And the review authority can consider factors such as volume and type of sales, parking characteristics, amount and nature of potential nuisances, and business hours/number of employees. The review authority can attach reasonable conditions and restrictions to the use in order to ensure harmony with the area in which the use is located and for conformity with the general plan. So potential draft conditions are included within your packets as Exhibit D, and these are conditions that could help this business be similar to the wine and beer specialty shop use, which is the permitted land use. So those are things such as the business must maintain a sommelier on staff, tobacco sales would not be permitted, no ATM would be permitted, and imposes limits on hours of operation. So that would help ensure that the proposed use would be most similar to a beer and wine specialty shop specifically, as opposed to being, opposed to a future owner being allowed to open a liquor store, a more traditional liquor store under the CUP. So if the commission chooses to approve the project, you can choose to adopt or modify additional conditions in order to ensure consistency with the similar use, the wine and beer specialty shop, as part of that determination of similar use. So moving on to the 4 required findings for a conditional use permit. These are required per section 17.62.060 of the Calabasas Municipal Code. The applicant's proposed response to the findings are included in your packets as Exhibit B. There are also 4 required findings for a determination of similar use, which are similar to the findings for a conditional use permit, and these are required per section 17.11.020 of the Municipal Code. The applicant has also provided responses to these. So with that, staff concludes that the proposed project will not alter the existing retail shopping center use of the subject site, which is an allowed use in the CT zoning district, and the use will also not alter the exterior of the historic Kramer store building. Compliance with the applicable municipal code standards is documented within the written staff report. And lastly, the project is exempt from CEQA review pursuant to section 15061, general rule exemption, and section 15301, existing facilities of the California CEQA guidelines. Staff recommends that the commission direct staff to prepare a resolution for approval or a resolution for denial, a file number CUP-2024-002, inclusive of all required findings to support the resolution. And staff is prepared to assist the commission in developing findings for approval or denial as required. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Any questions?
Yes, I have a couple. If the applicant had wanted to develop only a spirits liquor store, in the sense, do everything they're doing but no beer and wine, would they have to get a different license than what they're getting from whoever licenses this?
They may be better able to answer that than we would.
Okay.
I'm hearing it's the same license.
It's the same license, the liquor license.
Hang on, you'll get a chance to testify in a second. Okay, but I want to hear the answer to that on the record from the mic. And then the other question is, does this, if we make this special designation, I assume it doesn't run with the land. I assume it's some sort of designation that can be modified upon request. Like, for example, let's assume, sorry?
No, I was gonna say.
CUP.
Does-
So if the applicant, or if they sell it to somebody, wants to have tastings on the property, alcohol consumption, tastings, that sort of thing, they would have to, what, request a different designation, a different, what, license?
What's the different, they have to get another license. There's one specific to that as well. They'd have to combine that with this license. They'd have to come back for an amendment to the CUP. The determination of similar use might be a little trickier, but we're dealing with a hypothetical right now.
I understand. I love to ask hypotheticals. That's why we're called the Planning Commission.
So I think to answer your question, Commissioner Mueller, the CUP would run with the land, so that's why the conditions of approval would be applicable to a future potential tenant. That's why we've tried to gear the conditions of approval towards a use that is theirs or very similar to theirs, so that way a future tenant that has a completely different business plan couldn't operate under the same CUP.
And that's why I call her Jacqueline. She knows what she's talking about.
Should we, I don't have any questions of staff, but I do have questions of the applicant. And I have 2 cards from the applicant,
I
so.
have one of staff.
Oh, you have one of staff, so we'll go to staff first, and then if you could both come up. Okay.
Is there presently a beer and wine specialty shop in the commercial Old Town zone?
Not to my knowledge, no.
There used to be a wine
No, presently.
specialty, but not currently.
Not
Right.
now. Okay.
So I've got 2 speaker cards. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but these are from the applicant, Renee Zeff and Trevor Zeff, if you could come up, because perhaps one of you will be able to answer some questions. I know Commissioner Miller has questions. Oh, no. Go ahead.
Did you want to say anything before
Oh.
you, or just here to answer
Oh,
questions?
no, just anything that you guys might have.
Okay. So I think you were starting to address the question I had asked, which is there any kind of different license required for just a sale of liquor versus this combined approach?
No, the type 21 is all inclusive. The separation is for sort of going up in the proof of the spirit. So up to say 20 proof, or about 20 to 30 proof, up to like including sake and high alcohol wines would be under beer and wine, as opposed to 80 proof like full liquor and higher from there. So the higher your sort of beer and wine goes, you need to go up to the type 21, which is what we're applying for.
I see.
Yeah.
The type 21 gets you the 80
Beer and wine
proof
as well.
and beer and wine. The higher proof and less.
Correct.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, you're Trevor Zeff,
I am.
and you're from Calabasas.
Yes.
I just have to, anyway,
Oh,
okay.
sorry, yeah.
That has to be on the record.
Okay, sorry.
And yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then what was this no tobacco and no ATMs? This is, why are you doing that?
Those were conditions that we had imposed just to make sure, because those are more found in traditional liquor stores. The Zeffs are not proposing a traditional liquor store, but as mentioned, since the CUP runs with the land, a future store that sells wine, beer, and liquor like a liquor store could move in under the CUP unless we have specific conditions that would prevent that from happening. So that's not something that they're doing, but that's just to make sure, 10 years from now, that since the CUP runs with the land, a future different use could not take advantage of that, unless you want that to come out of the conditions of approval. Those are just draft.
Did you think about, I see so many now of these specialty tasting rooms for bourbon or gin or whatever. Did you think about that and just decide we don't want to go that route?
I'm not in the bar business. I have been collecting and hosting informal tastings in my home with my friends. That's plenty for me. This is going to be simply retail.
Labor of love.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're going to carry that, what's that fancy bourbon, Pappy something?
Pappy Van Winkle, yes, sir.
You will?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I approve. No. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
I have some questions. Do you have questions of the applicant? So, what kind of security do you plan to have?
Go ahead.
We plan on having one of the best security systems we can get, and continue to be in contact with the local sheriff. It just the same as the bars and restaurants around us.
Okay, and you're, by the way, Renee Zeff, right?
Yes.
Also Calabasas, obviously. Can you install one of those Ring cameras or Ring-type cameras out that is connected, that downloads information directly to the sheriff? Because they're looking for people to do that.
I'm happy to do that. I don't have any objection to that.
I mean, it would be for you, but it also downloads directly to the sheriff, so they can then look to see if there's a problem. They can see what happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost
Yeah.
anything. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Do you have any comments, any commissioners?
For the applicants, when we go to discussions.
All right, if there's nobody else who wants to speak, I guess we can close the public hearing. And then, anybody want to speak or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I have some concerns. Old Town is a special, unique district, and I disagree. While I love the idea, I'm a Scotch Speyside drinker, Glenfiddich, Glenlivet. I love to try and find some of the other distilleries. They're hard to find, so the fact that they may have it is good. But I have a problem putting this in Old Town. There's nothing similar. That's why I asked the question, is there a similar beer and wine? That finding is blown totally out. And if it is to be done, I think it needs to be done by council. I don't think the commission should be changing Old Town, which was a founding part of Calabasas, if it was not included. it was specifically excluded. And I think we need to know why, and if it's going to be changed, consult with council.
Okay. Any comments, Matt?
I didn't understand what is specifically excluded.
Well, they didn't include, the code doesn't include the spirits, the liquor part. It includes the beer and the wine, but not the liquor part,
Which is different.
which is why we have to make that.
Special designation.
Yes.
Yeah, which is different from the other commercial zone, so it was excluded for a reason back then.
So he's not comfortable. Okay.
No, I guess I would just, maybe it's semantic, but I wouldn't say that failure to include is a specific exclusion, but I can understand how.
When it's the only commercial zone in the city that doesn't include liquor as well, this is unique. Old Town is unique, and that's my concern.
I understand your concern. Personally, I mean, I don't even drink, but it seems like a very high-end store, and I think we would be lucky to have something like this personally, but I understand your concern. I'm not sure council really went over the entire municipal code when they adopted it to see that. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, not trying to argue with you, Bob. I guess I would simply say that I would think that this is different than what was maybe contemplated in the exclusion you're talking about, in the sense that there will be no consumption, where I think there was probably some contemplation. Remember we had that fancy wine store that was going to go in, and now it's, what is it, Mulholland? But it was going to be a wine store only, very high-end thing.
Well, it was actually one.
Did it actually open?
Yeah, they had that store there for years, actually, but it was the same owner who was then going to convert it to a restaurant, but he passed away. There's a whole story behind that. But
Yeah.
it was that.
Did they have wine
use.
tasting there?
They were pursuing that as I think they did finally get a CUP for that, but that didn't last long.
Yeah, but that does ring a bell. So I guess the distinction I would make, Commissioner Leah, is that this is, it doesn't materially change the feeling or the uses in Old Town, in that there isn't going to be any consumption. I think that's a significant difference for me.
Yes, it's an off-site license. That's what they applied for.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion to direct staff to approve or disapprove the resolution?
I would make a motion to direct staff to approve to draft a resolution approving the requested use in CUP.
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay, any other discussion? No? All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed?
Aye, but nay.
Aye for a no,
For the
okay.
reasons I stated, I love the idea of the store.
No, that's
Understood.
fine. So this comes back hopefully at the next meeting where we adopt the resolution that staff will prepare approving the CUP. So,
We're going to, I'm just going to let you know that I was listening when you were talking, of course, I hope I was listening, about the security camera linking and
Oh.
asking this applicant, and they
said
seemed
yes.
amenable to it. And what we'll do is we'll follow up with them, encourage them to contact the sheriff, and we'll draft appropriate language, working with the city attorney's office, that can make it a condition of approval or somehow incorporated in the
okay.
resolution.
It's just a regular
Is that
camera.
okay with the commission as
Yeah.
part of it?
It's fine. I remember when the sheriff's representative was here, there was a special word for that kind of hookup. It wasn't Ring, but it was another.
Yeah, it's
But any
it's
camera
the
will do it.
real-time security
Any
system.
wireless camera, and if it's wireless,
Yeah, any
Yeah.
camera.
But it had a name
Yeah.
that she used.
Right. They have a system, but you just have to tie into it. In fact, we got an email. Anybody can do this at your home. Anybody can now tie into that. So,
and they encourage that.
and they do encourage it because the more coverage they have after some event, then the better. All right. I think that's it for this item, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item. The next public hearing item is file SPR Site Plan Review 2023-017, Oak Tree Permit 2024-009. We have received correspondence from the Knots and CPHA President Richard Sherman. And then just on the dais up here, we received some additional correspondence from Cindy Goldstein and Sandra Hamilton. And I do have a couple of cards here, so if anybody else wants to speak on this item, please fill out a card that's in the back and give it to, well, somebody over here. Okay. So, Jacqueline, I guess you're going to make a presentation. Jacqueline, thanks.
Yes, thank you, and good evening again, Commissioners. First, I want to mention that this project was noticed to all property owners within 500 feet of the subject site. The notice was also posted on the city's website and throughout the city at all required locations. We did receive 5 items of public correspondence, which have been distributed to the Commissioners ahead of the meeting. And I do also want to point out there's a typo in the staff report. The ADU was downsized from 762 square feet to 688 square feet. And so that's not reflected in the staff report or on all of the sheets of the plans, but the correct number is 688 square feet for the ADU. And again, this is a request for a site plan review and an Oak Tree permit to construct a new 2-story, 5,224 square foot single-family residence and associated new 688 square foot ADU, as well as a swimming pool, 3-car garage, retaining walls, landscaping, and hardscape located on the vacant lot at 4440 Park Aurora within the RS zoning district. And the project also involves encroachment into the protected zone of 1 on-site oak tree. Here you can see the project location. It's located at the intersection of Park Aurora and Park Sienna. It's in the residential single-family zoning district. It is a corner lot, and it is within the Calabasas Park HOA. To the south and to the west, you can see other single-family residences. To the east is HOA-owned undeveloped open space, and then to the north is HOA-maintained park space. Here you can see just a little bit more of a close-up view of the subject site. As you can see, it is currently vacant. These are some photographs of the existing site. This is an overhead view, and this is the site as it exists today. So on the left-hand side, you can see this property and the adjacent residence here were previously under common ownership. The vacant lot here was utilized as basically the side yard for the residents. In this first photo, you can see trees, which include some fruit trees, as well as landscaping that had been planted. So as you can see in the photo on the right, now that the property has been sold and they're under separate ownership, those plantings and trees have since been cleared, and the site is currently secured with temporary fencing in order to temporarily secure the property. A few trees do remain. In this image, you can see this fence back here was not placed at the rear property line. It's several feet in front of the rear property line, so that oak tree and walnut tree are actually behind the fence, and those are back here to remain. So the proposed project includes construction of a new 5,224 square foot single-family residence, 688 square foot detached ADU, a 3-car garage, and associated accessory features. The project also involves encroachment into the protected zone of 1 on-site oak tree. And Calabasas Municipal Code Section 17.62.020 requires that construction of new single-family residences be reviewed by the Planning Commission. Here we have the proposed site plan. You can see, I'll go over the color coding first. In red here is the traffic safety visibility area. That's basically a city requirement to ensure that views won't be blocked at this corner. It limits the height of anything within this area. And then highlighted in yellow, these are both easements right here, located along the south property line and the north street side property line. This is an easement to the LA County Flood Control District because of the storm drain located along Park Sienna. And on this side, we have an easement to SoCal Edison. And the applicant did provide proof of approval from both entities for encroachment into these easements for the construction of walls, landscaping, and the grading that's proposed within these areas. However, no structures can be built within the easement areas. So the residence and the ADU are both outlined in blue. You can see them here, and they are designed around those easements, as you can see. On the site plan, you can see a new driveway, which is accessed off of Park Aurora, 3-car garage, 2-story single-family residence, balconies at the side and the rear of the house, a patio cover at the rear of the house, hardscape, a pool, walls and retaining walls, a detached ADU towards the rear, and at the back we have an oak tree and a walnut tree towards the rear property line, both of which are to remain in place. And the proposed project complies with the development standards for the residential single-family zone, including setbacks, pervious surfaces, site coverage, height, etc. The front setback is 20 feet 5 inches. The street side setback is 16 feet minimum. The interior side setback is 10 feet 10 inches. The rear setback is 45 feet 10 inches. The proposed site coverage is 34.8%, below the maximum required 35%, and the pervious percentage is 70.05%, which is above the minimum of 65%. Moving on to the floor plans, you can see here we have the proposed first floor plan. The first floor is 2,591 square feet. So first we have the 3-car garage right here. We have the covered porch at the front, entry area. We have an office/bedroom. And then also on the first floor we have a kitchen, pantry, dining room, wet bar area, and family room. And you can also see here the covered patio accessed off of the dining room as well. Here you can see the proposed second floor plan. On the second floor, we have 4 bedrooms and associated closets and bathrooms. We also have a balcony located off of the primary bedroom facing the backyard, and then a second balcony right here facing the side yard. And you can see the roof of the covered porch and covered patio below. And the second floor is, I believe, 2,633 square feet. And this is the floor plan for the proposed ADU. You can see it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and we have a kitchen and living room. And the ADU, again, is 688 square feet is the correct number. Here we have the proposed elevations. On the elevations, you can see the white stucco for the exterior. This is a limestone veneer that's on this tower element at the front and then wraps around the front of the garage here and this entryway area. This is the rear elevation. You can see the same limestone veneers wrapping around the back of the residence as well. We'll go over the colors and materials more in the next couple slides. This is the street side elevation. So this is the side you'll see from Park Sienna, so probably the most visible part of the house. And then this is the south side elevation, and you can see on both of those side elevations that stone veneer wraps around the sides as well, around this area on the side facing Park Sienna and at the rear. And then this is the south side elevation that faces the neighboring residence. And on the ADU elevations, you can see it's the same colors and materials for the detached ADU as well. And on this slide, you can see a rendering of the proposed residence. Same thing. This is a view from that corner on Park Aurora looking at the proposed residence. Moving on to the colors and materials, you can see this is the proposed smooth white stucco. And we have a cream-colored limestone veneer for that stone that was shown on the elevations. The trim color will be a dark forest brown. For the main roof, it will be a Spanish tile roof in a brown-gray blend color. And then these are the proposed doors and windows, garage door, glass railings for the balcony, lighting, permeable pavers, and the gate and fences, as well as the finish for those planter walls. So the Architecture Review Panel reviewed the proposed project on June 28th, 2024. The subject site is not within a designated scenic corridor, and there are no special architectural design standards applicable to the property. The ARP found that the proposed project is compatible with the aesthetics of the surrounding neighborhood and recommended approval of the project to the Planning Commission with additional considerations that the applicant has since revised the plans to address. So those considerations included that the applicant should adjust the tower element at the front elevation to extend the window and differentiate the tower from the rest of the front facade, to consider opening the roof at the covered entry, to consider adding a water element at the front courtyard area, if possible, within the easement area, to improve window placements facing Park Siena, and to consider adding a balcony to break up the blank south side elevation, and to provide separation between the first and second floors on that south side elevation. Also, I want to mention the applicant has provided to us the approval from the HOA of the proposed design. And just to go back to the elevations to show the changes that they made based on the ARP's feedback. You can see my cursor. This window has been extended down a little bit. That was part of the ARP's recommendation for consistency with the other balcony adjacent to it. This portion, this one-car garage space and tower element has been pulled forward a little bit to differentiate from the other two-car garage space next to it, right there. And then on the side elevations, these covered skylights have been added at that. This is the covered porch, so these skylights have been added there to bring in some light at the entryway. The window placement facing Park Siena has been improved based on the ARP's feedback. And then the limestone veneer has been extended along the sides to break up some of that, what was previously a more blank facade facing the residence on the south side elevation. They also added this balcony here to break up some of that blank wall appearance as well. Moving on to the landscape plan. All of these are a little bit small and difficult to read, so I'll point out some of the highlights. On the landscape plan, you can see that they're proposing some trees and some plantings in this corner area right here at the intersection of Park Aurora and Park Siena. This is the traffic safety visibility area, as mentioned, so again, they're not proposing anything that'll be tall in this area in order to not block sight lines at this intersection. So there's some trees proposed a little bit farther back out of that traffic safety visibility area. We have an olive tree and a few Pacific wax myrtle trees within that front corner area. We have that water feature right here as well, as recommended by the ARP. And then within the side yard areas, within the side facing Park Siena, as well as the interior side area, we have some pygmy date palms and honeysuckle in both side yards. These symbols are California Bay hedges towards the rear of the side property line and in this area right here. And then we have, if you can see on the legend, some of these more colorful shrubs and flowers are going to be planted in between some of those taller trees and plantings pointed out. And all the plants that they're proposing are very low to moderate water requirements. In regards to oak trees, there is only one oak tree on the subject site. It's located next to, there's an existing concrete swale right here towards the rear property line. No structures are proposed within the drip line or the protected zone of the oak tree. There's only encroachment from a proposed wooden fence. So you can see this brown line right here is the proposed wooden fence, which is outside of the drip line of the oak tree, but within that tree's protected zone. So their request includes an oak tree permit for that encroachment of that wooden fence. And I do just want to clarify, some of the public comment we received had mentioned oak trees, potential removal of an oak tree, and I just want to clarify in the project description, the request is for encroachment only. There's no removal of oak trees proposed. And the structures, the ADU, the house are outside of that protected zone. It's just the wooden fence that's proposed. So moving on to the home size comparison. This information comes from the home comparison table within the technical appendix of the staff report. So home sizes in the vicinity range from 1,940 square feet to 4,712 square feet. Lot sizes range approximately from 5,530 square feet to 44,832 square feet. The average home size in the vicinity is 3,153 square feet. The average lot size is 13,601 square feet. With the proposed project, the residence will be 5,224 square feet in total. The lot size is 16,794 square feet. I do want to mention that there are a few homes outside of the immediate vicinity that are around the lake that are within the 5,000 to 7,000 square foot range, but within the immediate vicinity, which is 300 feet, which is what the home comparison looks at, this is the range within that immediate vicinity area. And the surrounding homes are a mix of 1- and 2-story residences. These are some photos of the homes that immediately surround the subject site. So we have across the street next to the proposed residence, and I believe these are across the street as well. You can see that a few of the homes in the immediate area have been remodeled to have a smooth white stucco exterior and dark trim, so some of those homes do have more modern elements, while some of the homes do have more of their original architecture and colors. So listed here are the 6 required findings for a site plan review per section 17.62.020 of the Municipal Code. The applicant's proposed findings for a site plan review are included in your packets as Exhibit B. And per the Municipal Code, at least one of the 5 findings for an oak tree permit needs to be met in order for an oak tree permit to be approved. The applicant has provided a response to this finding due to the fact that their request is to encroach into the protected zone of an oak tree. There is no removal that is proposed. So with that, staff concludes that the proposed single-family residence is an allowed use in the residential single-family zoning district. The proposed project conforms to the development standards of the RS zone, and compliance is documented within the written staff report. Homes in the neighborhood range in size from 1,940 square feet to 4,712 square feet. With the proposed project, the residence will be 5,224 square feet. The ARP recommended approval of the project. And lastly, the project is exempt from CEQA review pursuant to section 15061 and 15303, which is new construction of the California CEQA guidelines. So staff recommends that the commission direct staff to prepare a resolution for approval or a resolution for denial of file number SPR-2023-017 and OTP-2024-009, inclusive of all required findings to support the resolution. And staff is prepared to assist the commission in developing findings for approval or denial as required. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much. Questions of staff first? None over here?
Just a couple. Thank you for that excellent report. On page 3 of the staff report, and I don't normally point out typos, but this is an omission, I think. The second full paragraph, it looks like in the second line there, and the proposed project will not blank any of these features. Does that mean like impact or?
Could you state where that was again in the
Sure,
report?
the second full paragraph, page 3. The paragraph that starts with the word additionally.
Third, okay.
In the second line of that paragraph, I think it's missing a word where it says, and the proposed project will not any. You with me?
Affect.
Effect
That
or
works.
impact?
Impact, effect, yeah. Either of those.
I'm sure that's what I'm sure that's what I thought you meant, but I just wanted to clarify that.
That was the intention.
Okay. Moving on in the elevations and all on page T-1.1, which is the site plan. I just want to point out that has the size of the ADU correct? 688 square feet?
Yes, that's the correct size.
Okay, so that's the correct size, okay. And am I correct that we cannot take into account the size, existence and/or size of the ADU in evaluating the scale issue?
That's correct.
That's correct.
On page, excuse me, T-6.0, which has these letters, is the letter on the right, what you're saying is the Calabasas Park Homeowners Association approval with the condition that something gets approved by the, you guys are gonna have to get me new progressives, approved by the Public Works Department?
Yes.
That's the approval of the association otherwise, with that condition?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then I see the roof tiles are called Spanish somewhere, or I thought I saw that. They're on A-2.0, this main roof. It says Eagle Roof Concrete Roof Tile Capistrano. So that's obviously not a classic Spanish tile, but it is a, if it were orange, it would be a Spanish tile. It's sort of the same shape as the Spanish tiles in the neighborhood, more or less.
That is my understanding. The architect is also here, though, and she may be better able to answer those.
Okay. And then
Specific
I
questions.
appreciate your going through, and I'll just confirm again that, and you went through briefly, but I followed you, that they did all 7 of the proposed recommendations from the ARP,
Yes,
and staff is comfortable that those were reasonably and fully complied with as opposed to just window dressing. They really made some significant changes based on those recommendations.
yes, yeah, they addressed all
And the water
ARP
feature is a
concerns.
real water feature.
I'm not positive if that's like a permanent water feature or if that's a temporary water feature. I think I can let them speak to that, but they did address that one as well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Oh, thank you. I don't have any questions of staff, but I do have questions of the applicants. So perhaps we should open the public hearing then, and do you want to start with the applicants? And I have a number of cards here, but maybe we could have the applicants come up first, the applicant and the architect, and ask questions of them, and then we can hear from the other speakers. Is that all right? So is it Michal Brisson? I'm not sure how to say your last name there, but, and Avi Siboni, could you come up? And just state your place of residence and your name.
Hi, good evening. I'm Michal Bryson.
Bryson, okay.
Yes, I am a resident in Calabasas and architect designer for this project.
Hi, I'm Avi Siboni. I'm Jonathan's representative as a builder, partner in several projects, but Jonathan Sabag is going to move into this house and live there. He couldn't attend the meeting because he's under the weather, and he didn't want to, God forbid, pass anything to all of you guys.
Oh, for a second I thought you meant, God forbid, pass altogether, but you mean just spread the, okay. Well, I guess that you answered actually one of my questions. I didn't know if this was a spec house or if this is for someone, and you're saying this is for Mr. Sabag himself, who owns the, yeah, okay. Do you have questions of the owner and the architect?
I want to hear your questions.
Oh, okay. You want to hear my questions? Okay. Well, you answered the one about the spec house. Is there a more detailed landscape plan? That was hard to look at because they're all covering each other, all the colors and shapes. And I only saw one native plant, bay laurel, and it says that it'll only grow 5 to 10 feet tall, when I know bay laurel grows 10 times taller than that. So that's going to be a constant trimming, and I'm not sure. It says you're planting 18 of them along the boundary to the old, to Mr. Arkoff's house, his former house. But as Mr. Sherman pointed out in his letter, both of these properties were owned by Harold Arkoff, who's one of the original board members of CPHA, and he passed away in 2021, I believe. And now these were both being sold. But this one was never developed. It reminds me of the it reminds me of the Jimmy Stewart house in Beverly Hills. I don't know if any of you are familiar, but he lived on the second to last house on North Roxbury, and he wanted to be on the corner, so he eventually bought the neighboring house on the corner and tore it down and used it for like this, like just sort of a yard. And then across the street was Jack Benny, and next to him was Lucille Ball. But anyway, but I just remembered always seeing that empty lot there because he tore down a house, which is obviously valuable. But this never, I don't think this ever had a house. I think he always used this as just a side yard, as you said. So I'm concerned about the landscape plan. I think it doesn't screen the house enough on the side facing Park Sienna. And to me, this is a very large house, very deep, and that's fine, but it's not screened. So I wonder if you could prepare, or if a landscape architect could prepare a landscape plan.
At this point of the design process and application requirements, this is the bare minimum that was requested and required by the list of items that we need to include in the drawing package. As we go forward, with developing irrigation plans, we will need to get more specific with the zones and the type of plant, so there might be slight changes to what is proposed. The intent is still to stay with local native plants and the low maintenance type. We can make sure the landscape architect is aware of this request and addresses it appropriately.
All right.
I'm not an expert when it comes to
Right, because none of these are
plant
native.
material.
Yeah, none of these are native except for the bay laurel, and that's being chopped down constantly, which doesn't make sense to me, and it's in a place where it shouldn't be. And, you know, to put in like oriental poppies, which go dead, you know, half the year, and you have like 44 of them, that doesn't make sense to me. And there just isn't, this is not an attractive landscaping plan to me. So I was just hoping that you could come up with a real one. Yes.
Michael, you're right 100%. I have your answer. All along, we're planning to put a hedge to cover up the house. So it's a hedge, and the hedge that I use on my development, which lives forever, it never dies, it never dries, it's a solid hedge. It's called a pertocarpus. It's similar to
Oh, yeah, no, I know exactly what that is.
So that's what I'm willing
Okay.
to put it all along, and you're right 100%. So this way, it covers the house, and it looks like a greenery blend.
Will you put the podocarpus facing Mr. Arkoff's?
The main street.
Oh, the main street?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, much better. And
I agree with you
oh,
100%.
yeah, okay.
I just saw that right now, and I even told myself it's a mistake. Definitely pertocarpus along the main
You know
street, so this way
podocarpus is-
everybody is happy and we're good to go. I promise you that.
No, it's not native, but
Can I
it's.
make a comment?
Sure.
Actually, there are two natives. The Pacific wax myrtle is also.
Oh, right, I forgot, but there's like
So
one
you
of them.
have two.
So there's like one of them,
And
but,
I didn't have a problem with the bay laurel, the California bay laurel trained as a hedge. It does, as the chairman tonight has said, require a lot of work, and I don't know this other one. But either of those would I think adequately screen, assuming it's high enough, the bulk of the new house.
100%.
But I agree with Commissioner Harrison. I think and I appreciate the comment, you're gonna look at it more thoroughly, because the poppies don't do well in heat. The begonias are kind of a problem in this area. You gotta really watch them. High maintenance plant, at least for Calabasas. And when you do get into this a little more, you may find that there are some California natives that will give you a lot of the color that I can tell you sort of want with the lobelia and all of that. There are some really beautiful natives that will give you a lot more color and native, and they're from this area, so they ought to do well. And they're even much less water related than these moderate ones. So just think about that when you're going into the more
We
detailed.
will consult with our landscape designer when we move forward into developing this, and considering the irrigation zones that we have to be specific with.
Yeah, I think the pertocarpus will solve our issue. It doesn't take a lot of water.
right.
And it never dries, it's much stronger than ficuses, which you see all around the neighborhood, which I love pertocarpus more. I have it in Old Agora in my house. It's a more durable plant. Sometimes we have a freeze zone over here, it gets to under 38 degrees. This plant will always hold on to it, and also when we have a heat wave. So it's a good solution for all of us, and it's a nice screen, and it doesn't absorb a lot of water, and that should solve our issues, I think.
All right, yeah, I know you have to go. Do you have any questions?
I do.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's in good hands.
All right.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm surprised you only said 38 degrees because it gets down to less than 20 at my house, and the podocarpus is still fine. I mean, you can find it in Britain. I mean, it's
I don't know it.
and you can grow it either as a
Hedge.
hedge, or you can grow it sort of like a tree. I mean, I have, anyway. My other concern is you have 32 Teckomeria capensis plants, which is, South African. They're so invasive, I can't keep them out of my yard. I have to keep on trying to get rid of them.
The honeysuckle?
Yes, the Cape honeysuckle. So they're planted in Calabasas Park on hillsides by the city, actually. because the city has landscape maintenance. They're in charge of maintenance District 22, but they're highly invasive. You will have techomeria all over the lot if you plant that, 32 techomeria plants. It'll be springing up everywhere. So I wouldn't do that. I think you need a landscape plan by a landscape architect or something.
No, that's not a problem.
Noted.
It's not a problem.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
But I do like more screening on Park Sienna,
I agree with you.
because this house is very deep, deeper than all, and that's a very visible corner. People drive on Park Sienna all the time. And
I agree with you, Mr.
and
Michael.
they also don't necessarily want people looking in all their bedrooms and,
Benefits both of us. I
Right.
agree with you 100%.
okay.
Problem solved.
All right,
No
thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
I don't think I have any other questions of the applicant. The glass balcony. So this is just a pet peeve of mine. This style is nice, but, and I don't mind the glass balcony in the back, but there's a glass balcony in the front, and I'm wondering if you could change that to wrought iron instead of, or, some kind of iron. Just, it's not big. The back one doesn't bother me, but the front one, there's no glass that I remember seeing in Calabasas Park like that.
There are several houses.
There's several houses doing that now?
Like maybe.
Oh, well, I lose. Okay. So,
Yes.
I know this is the trend.
Yeah, the trend changes, but trust me, Michael, there's a lot of them with glass.
Okay, all right.
Would you
And then is there a way to cut down on the number of lights? I started counting.
Yeah.
They're all low voltage lights. They're all like illumination lights.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
they're,
they're very like ambery color.
oh, okay, that's
yeah.
nice.
We're all for like, of course, we don't want to. It's not an airport, of course.
Right, that's what, I've seen houses that look like they're rocket ships.
No, God forbid.
Because they have so many lights around them.
No, God forbid. The whole ambience of this house is going to be like a yellowish amber color, very soft.
Okay.
Nothing bright, very soft and gentle.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
The applicant, Bob, do you have
I
any?
had a question, just a thought, the doors and the windows in the front, I think at night there'd be like two giant eyes looking out at the neighbors.
Well, hopefully they'll have some blinds or something.
Have some
Of
privacy
course.
on the interior,
Of course,
yes.
the interior, they're all going to have shutters and
Yeah.
shades
Okay,
and everything.
well, so this was an issue at the item that I voted no on earlier. That's got these huge, like, storefront windows in the house with, I don't even know how they're gonna have shutters, they're huge.
No, you have automatic,
Yeah, these
automatic
are
shades
divided.
and blinds, of course.
Yeah, and these, okay, no, this is more traditional. So they'll have something, okay. So if there are no other questions for the applicants, I do have a speaker card from Laura.
We can sit down, Mr. Michael?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
very
you.
much.
And Richard, I don't have a card for you,
No,
but we do have your
you
letter.
have my,
Okay. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Green Weishar. I'm chair of the Classic Calabasas Commission, which is part of CPHA. I am also an active leader with the senior program here in Calabasas. More importantly, I'm a Calabasas resident who lives almost around the corner from the proposed Aurora property development. When I moved to Calabasas approximately 11 years ago, I was drawn to the unique, almost rural environment of Calabasas Park. It was in such contrast to what we have in most of Los Angeles, and I think you all appreciate that, and I thank you for keeping it that way. I often walk on Park Sienna, and as I walk around the lake, none of the homes in the immediate area are more than around the 4,700 square feet that was mentioned. Most or many are like mine, which is basically 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. Many of my neighbors have lived in Calabasas, I'd say 30 to 50 years. At 11 years, I'm a newbie. And when I walk and we talk, they often talk about how much they enjoy the unique character of the original Calabasas. As a park homeowner, I have hoped and expected that the guidelines and regulations that Calabasas has would have protected our community from such a large home that does not fit when you're comparing it in size with the neighboring residents. And at this particular intersection, as it has been mentioned at Sienna and Park Aurora, it informally serves as a gateway to the lovely park and lake that we have in Calabasas, and it gets quite a bit of traffic. We just don't want a house to be so large that when one drives by, they see it as a McMansion, rather than as a wonderful home that truly fits in size, footprint, and design like the rest of the immediate neighborhood. I would make this comment tonight, and I would hope that you would consider this comment for any future homes that come to the area to be developed. So it is a concern that I hope that you would consider. And I thank you very much for listening.
May I ask her one question?
Go ahead.
I'm not quite clear. I think you said you're a member of an organization called the Classic Calabasas. Yeah. Is that a sort of a subcommittee or subdivision of the Calabasas Homeowners Association?
Yes, it is. It's a commission that is part of the umbrella of the Calabasas Park Homeowners Association.
Okay, and are you speaking tonight just as an individual or as a?
I would say that I'm speaking as an individual right now, but the feelings that I am expressing are there by a number of people.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just wanted to. We have testimony and a letter from the Calabasas Park Homeowners Association, which I think is the parent organization,
yes,
approving this or not objecting to it. So you're a little bit crosswise with some of your fellow residents of the bureaucracy.
Yes, and I think that a number of us anticipated that as the project went through the city, that they would have guidelines about how big a property can be. And so to have this big of a home pass without any concerns about it was rather a surprise. This is something that personally, after having experienced this, I think it should be considered when a home is such an outlier to the other homes in the area, whether that is appropriate.
Thank you for answering my question.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? I don't, and I have no other cards. Nobody else wants to speak on this, so I guess I'll close the public hearing then.
And I just had one, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I just had one additional question of staff.
Go ahead.
Jacqueline, you talked about the area home and lot size comparisons, and you indicated that the vicinity range that you used to prepare the chart in the staff report is 300 feet. That's not that 300 feet is a rule of thumb. That's not a code section requirement.
It's not a code requirement, but it is what we do for all other projects, so it's the same radius that we wanted to do for this project as well.
No, I appreciate that, but I think you went on to say that if you went beyond the vicinity range, you would find several homes in, I think you said, in the neighborhood of 5,000 square feet.
We do typically look, just because we know that that's something that the commissioners ask about, so we do look beyond that a little bit in case the question comes up. And there were a couple on the surrounding cul-de-sacs that were, I think the largest was 7,900, but there were a couple within the 5,000 square foot range.
And would you be able to put a number in terms of this, let's call it the increased vicinity range? We're talking 500 feet, 700 feet?
No, I thought you may ask. 1 second.
See, Tom, she knows more than both
My,
of us.
my guess is it's on that
She never
street.
surprises
It's
me.
exactly where I thought. It's
I
Park.
thought you may ask. So here's
Park
where we have some
Monaco.
of the other homes you
So-
can see on this map. And this is the subject site right here.
Yes.
300 feet goes about, I believe, to right here. These other two homes are picked up at about 500 feet. But again, since we do 300 for all other homes, we wanted to keep it to the same radius that we always do within the staff report.
And again, to emphasize, getting to one of the key parts of your initial question, it's not a standard to do this. This is something we use to help the commission as a guide so that you have an understanding with numbers what some of the surrounding home sizes are. Because, of course, home size always comes to you as part of the testimony. So that gives you some facts to go with the testimony.
Okay, thank you.
I'll speak about this later because I think this is one of those items that Councilmember Kraut was talking about, where if we have objective standards saying that in this zone the max could be this square feet, then we wouldn't have these issues, I think. But anyway, that's for the future.
If I may, we have a lot of objective standards that have been applied. The
But not
setbacks, the
maximum square
height,
foot.
the floor area, I mean, not floor area, the site
Right.
coverage, the pervious surface area,
this
easements
is-
that have to be
Right.
accounted for. And when all those are applied, you do get a maximum. It's
Right.
just handled without saying the maximum square footage is X.
But I think it's
dynamic
something
than
to
that.
consider. I'll talk about when we talk about future agenda items, where I think maximum size, maximum, stories, to be as objective as possible. Anyway, are there any other comments on this proposal? No? All right. So is there are no comments. Is there a motion to recommend, to
I
approve
would-
or?
I will make a motion to direct staff to prepare a resolution of approval for the project as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. My only comment again is, I don't know when they're going to do the landscape plan, because to me, that's so significant. That will help the community as well as the owner. Yes?
Could I speak, Mr. Michael?
Sure, come back up, Avi,
Reopen.
Open it.
and I'll reopen the
Thank you.
public.
The landscape will be done tomorrow a.m. Okay? At 7 o'clock in the morning, you will see the hedge. So I
Okay.
promise you that.
Okay.
So I want this thing, please, to be.
And the landscape,
over
hopefully will consider more native plants and
Yes.
not things like
No problem.
invasive plants and poppies that die half the year and,
Whatever makes you happy,
Okay.
Mr. Michael. I want to please you all.
And also the pygmy palms, I'm concerned, there were a lot of those, and they're fire hazards, believe it or
Whatever makes you
not.
happy, and you're welcome to come visit after Mr. Jonathan Sabak. Problem solved at 7 a.m. Perdocarpus hedge. Thank you.
It reminds me of Captain Renault in Casablanca, when she says, I'll bring the application at 7 a.m., and he says, I'll see you at 10 a.m. So,
Thank you.
All right. And remember the palms too. All those palms will just explode in fire, so anyway.
Tom, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tom, is that clear enough in terms of the landscaping? Is that clear enough?
Yes, I was going to ask to clarify, did you want to add like a draft condition of approval to be more specific about that, or are you fine with the project?
I personally,
Okay.
I mean, I believe
Yes.
Avi Saboni, but I think we could add something that there's a hedge along Park Sienna. It will address the concerns of the community. I mean, you've heard, I know that street. That's the first street you hit when you turn left.
We can add that wording into the draft condition about the
Okay.
landscaping.
The hedge, and then more native plants, and, the hedge he identified, the podocarpus.
let's not wed him to
Oh,
that in case he
okay.
comes up with
All right,
something.
all right.
But
But
something
a
that
he-
says to the head.
Screening
Screening
Screening.
to the
on the Park Sienna.
extent
Yeah,
practicable to
okay, good.
assist screening the
Yeah.
project from the street view.
Yeah, that's a
Something
good way
like
of
that.
putting it, because it could be a hedge, it could be another, then a tree, and then more hedge, whatever that you decide.
I agree with the word screening.
Screening.
Manicured, pampered, in the right straight line.
Well, can you come to the
The best.
mic, and is the public hearing still open?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I reopened
We'll,
it.
we'll manicure the pericarpus in a way that it's gonna be a straight hedge on the money. Height, of course, you know, it's gonna be the.
Not 3
once
feet.
it grows, the better it is, you know, we're gonna start with minimum, I would say, 10 foot.
Okay.
So everybody will be happy. 10 to 12 foot even now, you know, I'll buy them 10 to 12 foot, which is beautiful. I'm not gonna buy a little ones, you know what I mean?
So-
I'll make sure that they're like minimum 10 foot. You
Make
can
sure
note
you
it on,
comply with the code on that.
yeah, you can note it on your paper. I promise you, it's
Well-
gonna, I started with 10
So-
foot.
just for,
Just be clear here, there's a 6-foot height limit for fences, walls, and hedges in the code.
Not necessarily. If you drive around properties that are like corners, the hedge can get up to, the guy across from me, you can drive, you can Google map him. He's got a ficuses, his ficuses are almost 25 feet.
I've seen a lot of hedges that
Of
are
course.
way more
I
than
mean, I will
6
never
feet.
go that height. I will always
Let
keep
me-
him at
Let me
12 to
clarify
14
something.
feet.
All right.
If I may. The code specifies that a hedge, fence, and a wall cannot exceed 6 feet unless you get a variance. That, having said that, then of course, we're gonna see people who have allowed their hedges to grow higher than that. We don't have code enforcement officers running around measuring hedges. But when somebody's asking for an approval at a public hearing, and they're talking about, I will give you a 10-foot hedge, staff cannot sit here and say, sure, you can have a 10-foot hedge.
Well, can you come
Because
back
the
with a
code
variance?
doesn't allow, if you wouldn't mind, I'll finish. The code didn't allow for that. So if he elects to grow his hedges taller than 6 feet at some future date, well, he'll be like all the neighbors and probably won't get enforced because we've got other things to enforce. But we can't give him an okay to a 10-foot hedge at this public hearing.
Can
I
we?
respect what you're saying, Mr. Tom. You want me to put it on your paper as a 6 to 8? I honor your word.
If
No
I could-
problem, I don't object.
If I could interject, maybe if I could get that sentence, Commissioner Mueller, that you had stated earlier, and we not limit it to a specific height, but let's just go with what you were saying earlier,
Not a
provide
problem.
adequate
The
screening, maybe we
Adequate
can do that.
screening,
Okay.
yes.
I'll
Do you know
honor
what-
whatever Tom
well-
says. I'll plant a 6-foot hedge. I'll honor it. I mean, I want it to be even
Let's-
nicer, Mr. Michael, but I'll honor what Tom says. So we
Let's
call
just
it a-
leave it at
we call
adequate
it a
screening
6-foot hedge,
Yeah.
not a
for the
problem.
condition.
I don't
You have the
object.
condition.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So we'll leave it, and that's agreeable. We haven't voted yet. So that language is agreeable to all of us, I think, just adequately screened. And really, I have neighbors with hedges, with podocarpus hedges that are, 15 feet
and,
high.
and
I
also,
honor Tom's
also
word.
to be clear, Commissioner Harrison's suggestions about the types of flowers, those are suggestions that you're agreeable to, correct?
I'm going to use my landscape architect,
Could you
architect,
come back to the
sorry.
mic?
Whatever
just wanna-
inside the house, I'm allowed to do anything that is by code. I have family members that lives at the Oaks. We all do the guidelines of what the landscape commission agreement agrees on.
I hear you.
willing
I'm gonna be,
to-
let
I'm
me be
willing
clear
to
about my
change it.
question, my statement. My statement was to make sure that it's
Oh.
on the record.
Oh, yeah,
That those
yeah,
are
for sure.
suggestions, the specific plants, those are
Sure.
suggestions that you are amenable to. That's the only point.
No,
for
no
the
problem,
time.
no problem, no problem, no
Okay.
problem. I got you, I'm sorry, no problem. I got you.
See, the problem to me is the location of this house. It's not like a house in the Oaks necessarily. This is a highly visible corner, and that's what I'm concerned, that's why the screening.
No, it's
Uh,
done deal, no
is
objection, no nothing.
significant.
I honor whatever Tom
And-
said, or I honor whatever you said.
And if you need to come back for a variance request, I have no problem with that, considering the location of this house. It's different from other houses. It's so visible. Everyone sees this when they turn. This is what they see. And,
As long as we agreed on everything, I'm good, no
Okay,
problem.
all right.
Thank you very much.
any other comments, or I can close the public hearing and we can vote?
I just
Oh, go
would
ahead.
make a comment that appreciate Richard Sherman's letter and understand the initial concern you had about the oak tree. And I hope you've been satisfied with the evidence in the record that both arborists have concluded that this is only an encroachment in the protective zone, not in the drip line, and that it's only for the fence, so not some other structure to encroach. It's only for the wooden fence, which will be dug the post post holes are gonna be dug by hand. So in case they encounter a root, they have to deal with that. So I'm pretty happy with the care that they've taken to deal with the oak tree.
No problem, thank you.
As Commissioner Mueller said, our own oak tree consultant confirmed
Yeah.
what their oak tree consultant proposed or found.
Right.
Any other comments? No? So,
Made a motion, it's been seconded.
Wait, you closed the.
yeah, close the public hearing. The motion's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And everybody else is absent. So,
The minutes will show that Commissioner Hazane had to leave.
Yeah.
So
he
that
had to leave.
the
I'm
3-0
sorry.
vote will make sense.
Right.
Oh, right, because there won't be abstentions, really. Just absences, okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for expressing your concerns. We are concerned as well, because that's such a significant corner.
See, I'm not inconsistent because there are only 2 other commissioners, that's why
Oh.
I didn't want to hold it up.
Okay, so then I think we now go to reports from staff, if there are any.
I'm going to do my best to stand in for Michael. He's out of town. So just to let you know, the historic preservation.
Thank you, it was a pleasant, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. The Historic Preservation Commission met last night, and they adopted a resolution recommending to the City Council that the El Camino Real Bell marker that is in front of the Kramer store be considered for a local landmark designation. So just giving you a heads up that the HPC's been mulling that over and came to a final decision last night very enthusiastically. So that's something you'll see on a council agenda item, as a council agenda item sometime soon. In terms of the commission and items coming to you, we are anticipating CUP for a sushi restaurant for alcohol sales at that sushi restaurant. Would come to you in November. November 7th is your next scheduled meeting. And in addition to a single-family home on Tohi and a oak tree permit for a property up in the estates at the Oaks, where they have to do some rear yard improvements, and there's an encroachment, and I believe a removal. So I can't get into the details because obviously they're not for tonight, but we do anticipate 3 items coming to you next meeting.
Thank you. Are there any reports from, or comments from the Planning Commissioner?
No.
Nothing here.
So I did want to mention, first of all, I want to thank staff, thank you, Jacqueline, for applying for the grant to help develop objective design standards, among other things. I hope we can do that. And I hope we can consider hiring someone who's a designer, not just an architect, but somebody like from Art Center or something, someplace where they really know design and they can look at those ratios that Councilmember Kraut was talking about, because they don't just apply to retaining walls, but also height versus the width. And so, for example, at the Commons, there's going to be an 8-story building when all the other buildings are 2 stories. I'd like them to look at that, and maybe we can define that so that can't happen again, or else just put a maximum number of stories anywhere in the city or in certain zones. And the same thing with maximum size, because we're going to get a new home on Tohi, we're going to get a new home. Some of these new homes are oversized for the community, for the area that they are in, and if we could put them, if that's something we could develop as an objective design standard, I'd like to at least look at that. But I do appreciate what you've done, and I understand. That's it. I don't think, is there anything else that anybody has to announce or whatever? No? Then, any motion to adjourn?
I move.
Second.
We're all in favor, so it's the meeting is adjourned to November 7th. Thank you.
Very efficiently run, sir. Wow.
What?
Very efficiently run meeting. Well done.
Was it?